Hey, in today's video, I want to talk about the SAFE framework. SAFE stands for Scale Agile Framework. And the goal of this framework is to help big organizations to adopt agile or lean methodologies. SAFE framework is one of those frameworks that has not have a very good reputation among developers, among software engineers, and even agile practitioners. One of the reasons is that many people think that SAFE is not necessarily a very agile framework. Let's go through what are the pros, what are the cons, and maybe what are my thoughts about this framework, and is it really an agile framework? So let's go through the pros and what are the good things about SAFE that can help your organization to actually be more agile. So the first pro is that allows scalability of agile within your organization. This means that you can actually have a framework that is going to help you to see how to deploy agile into different teams. Many times agile works really well with the small organizations with a few teams, and there it's easy to have agile practices. But when you start to have many teams working with many products, it might be a challenge. SAFE is going to help you tackle that issue. The second one is that it's going to give you a structure. It's going to have a set of ceremonies, role, responsibilities that are going to help you organize your work and make sure that you're able to adapt or adopt a SAFE into your organization. The third one is integration. SAFE is trying to help you adopt agile and integrate it with other, let's say, agile methodologies like lean thinking, design thinking, DevOps, and others. So the goal is to have this one framework that kind of actually combine all these different frameworks and put all these different practices into one place and help the teams and help especially big organizations adopt them. The fourth pro is flexibility. You can adopt the SAFE framework in different ways depending on your needs. Although the framework at first looks like it's a very large framework and yet it's combining quite many different aspects, it actually can be broken down into different needs. If you want to be focused more onto your R&D or your engineering practices, you can do that. If you want to do it more based on your solutions or on your portfolio, you can also do that. So it doesn't have just one overview or one point of view that you had to take. You can break it down into different needs. And actually you can see this in their website. So you can have an overview, and the overview, I think that it in a way is the easiest one to understand, and it's the only one where it actually puts the customer in the center, which I think is very important. The essential one is looking more into the agile practices within the engineering and product teams. The large solution looks more into companies that are adopting solutions that build one product usually and not a portfolio of products, and tries to actually build the whole team to actually, or the whole set of practices to actually be more agile. Then the portfolio one is actually obviously looking into how to have a portfolio of products that you can handle with SAFE. And finally, of course, you will have the full framework if you want to adopt that. And the final pro of SAFE is that it allows alignment between different teams and different units. It's actually very focused on bringing alignment and visibility of the plans from business all the way to execution, R&D, engineering, product, and so on. And the idea is that everything is more transparent and everybody understands better what other teams are trying to do. Now let's go through the cons, because although the pros are pretty good, there are some cons, and you can already probably guess it by just looking at the size of the framework, which is a basic summary, especially if you compare it with something like Scrum. So the first con that it's going to have is the complexity of the framework. The framework is large. It tries to tackle quite many different aspects of the business. It actually tries to do not a whole business framework, but it's trying to get there, and it's looking into many different parts of how this works. It's of course not trying to do everything, because it's not looking potentially into things like sales or finance and so on, but when it comes to all the related tasks or all the related responsibilities around a product or managing products, is trying to tackle all of them into one place. So the problem here is that adopting it, getting people to actually be trained or even to understand what it means, and the time that it's going to get you to adopt it is going to be probably quite long. I have actually adopted several of these different parts of SAFe into different organizations, and some of them have worked really well. For example, like the release train, because we were going from one release per year to actually do more frequent releases, all the way to monthly releases. And having a release train, it helped us a lot. Only to get adopted this release train into an organization took us several iterations, so several months of trying to get it right. And that was just one piece of the whole framework. When you're thinking about the whole picture and trying to adopt that, even if you have trainings, even if you have somebody to come to help you to adopt it, it's going to take a very long time to actually get it right and get it used by everybody. The second con is overhead. When adopting SAFe, you are creating a ton of new roles, responsibilities, and ceremonies that have to happen. This can many times be seen by many people as overhead, as reporting meetings or reporting channels that they had to track or activities. And this is something that people are not usually going to like very much. And the reality is that when you are adding so many new ceremonies, artifacts, roles, your response time, your development process, all these things are going to slow down. And this is going to be quite noticeable when you put such a heavy process in place. Just imagine all the alignment meetings that you're going to have between all the different layers of the framework. So from the portfolio to the solution, all the way to the execution part, you are going to have alignments between all these different ones, which means that these are going to be processes that are going to slow down how you are going to be able to produce, how you're going to be able to execute actually in your product. The third problem with this framework is that it's going to be quite rigid. It's going to potentially affect the capability of innovate of different teams. When you have such a prescriptive way of working, when you have such a let's say strict alignment, you are not going to allow time for teams to actually innovate. And this is going to be potentially a problem that it might work really well, but if you need to change something, it might be really hard to be able to change. And depends on the industry where you are, this could be potentially a problem in the future for you. It might be very difficult to adopt or try to respond to potential disruptions in your industry because you have such a stiff framework that is not going to allow you to look into those other opportunities. I've seen several times when SAFe is adopted, company end up with a situation that roadmaps are blocked for almost a year or even more time. And when you're thinking about software products, having blocked times or blocked roadmaps for such a long time, it's a very big problem because it is putting you in a very reactive way of working, especially when you're thinking about potential new opportunities appearing. The fourth con is that it's a very big cultural shift. You are going to have to change a lot the ways of working, the responsibilities of different people, how reporting potentially is happening, the different ceremonies or the different materials that you had to be producing. This is something that is going to be very time consuming to first get done. Potentially, it's something that is going to be time consuming all the time and something that some people are certainly not going to like. The fifth con is that it's going to create a ton of dependencies because you have the whole organization or a big chunk of the organization trying to work together. Imagine adopting something like this in a large company, something like Google, where you have, I really don't know how many tens of thousands of potential people do they have working in Google, but if you're trying to align even less than half of that organization, it's going to be a really big process. And this is going to create a ton of dependencies. The problem is that when you had to manage so many dependencies, making decisions can come to a crawl, can be super slow because you had to check with a lot of people where are the dependencies. Sometimes there's going to be only one decision maker that can make that decision of do we go in this direction or not. And those things or those people and those processes are creating bottlenecks into your ways of working. Again, slowing down the process, slowing down development, slowing down progress. So overall, the intentions of SAFe, I think that they are quite good, trying to tell you or help you how to implement Agile within bigger organizations. The problem that I see with SAFe is that in reality, I think that it's very limited or is not really an Agile framework. It's not really promoting agility within the company. Even if it's trying to, the process ends up being so strict, especially the implementations of the process end up being usually so strict that it usually removes all agility from the company. So for me, realistically, I don't think that SAFe is a very agile framework, although you could argue that maybe in certain teams it is agile. So you could argue that certain R&D teams can still be relatively agile by adopting SAFe. But the reality is that I doubt, and I have never seen a whole organization adopting SAFe and really being agile as a business. But hey, you can prove me wrong if you know some business that actually has implemented SAFe successfully, and they are actually a very agile business, and they actually can see that, hey, if there's a disruption, they can adapt to the market changes or adapt to the customer needs, whatever they are. If you know something, some company that is doing it right, let us know in the comments below. So do I think that you need to adopt SAFe? That's a different question of SAFe being agile or not. I think that if you are in a transition phase where you're trying to discover what agile is and you are not a very agile company, certain parts of SAFe, I think that they are very recommendable. They are going to help you get there. I think that if you end up adopting it as a whole framework, I don't think that you are going to end up being very agile, but that's my experience. But again, as I said, I think that it has some ingredients that are going to help you be more agile. So I would recommend you to at least consider it or consider parts of it when you are looking into how to be more agile in certain parts of your business. And if you are a small company, I don't think that you should adopt SAFe. I think that you are better off with small frameworks like just a Scrum or something else. I think that is going to help you much more. But I think that still there are certain aspects of it that you can take advantage of and that you can help you inspire or find ways of implementing Agile within your organization. So I wouldn't right away dismiss it as an opportunity to actually adopt Agile, but just take it with a pinch of salt and see the parts that could help you in your organization. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one. And remember, stay safe.